Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this one is the Steadfast Bible's Inside Column Reference Edition of the Legacy Standard Bible, or the LSB. Now, if you guys are anything like me, you were probably super excited to see this thing pop up when they first posted it, and if you were a total geek like me, you probably pre-ordered it like I did. Now, I know that some people tend to, sort of geek out over maybe like free swag that's included with the product, or say like the packaging and presentation. And obviously, we all kind of tend to geek out over like the actual construction of the Bible, the leather options and the paper use and that sort of thing. And certainly, this Bible checks all of those boxes. It does an amazing job. However, unfortunately, 316, I guess maybe like the company portion of it, kind of failed on an important aspect, at least as far as I'm concerned. That tends to hurt the product even more than like all of those other things benefit the product. So sadly, as much as I like this edition, we're going to have to get into some tea, as the kids put it, I guess. And I'll have a little story time in a little bit when we get to kind of the issue with this particular Bible. And you guys will see it, I guess, essentially maybe first or technically like secondhand. You guys will see it, and I'll kind of get into it more when we get to it. But let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you kind of everything that came with it. It did come packaged very nicely in the box, like the actual shipping box. I'm not going to show it to you just because it has my, my address and everything on it. But it is a nice kind of clamshell box. It was very heavy duty, and it was kind of like form fitted to the actual dimensions of the box here, which was nice. You did get a couple little cards here with some information. These are just some other kind of product cards, some other offerings from 316. I'll put them to the side as we get through them. And they're just like a double-sided collar card here with kind of a high gloss finish on one side and like a matte finish on the other, just to kind of advertise their stuff. You also got, which I thought was super neat, an LSB pin, a little lapel pin there. And I thought that was super cool. The only thing that was kind of a miss for me, thankfully it was placed like this on top of the package. But obviously it's got a sharp point there because, it's a lapel pin. It's meant to poke through your lapel. Now, during shipping, obviously you're going to have like heavy stuff on top of, boxes on top of boxes that are all heavy. And of course, what happened, the little lapel pin actually like poked through, the actual like metal holding piece here. And then it bent the pin for the lapel pin, and then it poked through the cardboard box. So thankfully it wasn't upside down, because then it would have like just sunken into the Bible, and that would have been super bad. But certainly the the bent lapel pin wasn't super awesome either. And I actually just took a pair of pliers and kind of bent it back to where it needed to be. But the top cover portion is damaged, and the spike is like permanently poking through. I actually just poked myself a minute ago with it. So that was kind of a miss. Maybe they should have like kind of shoved it up in the top corner or something, just someplace a little safer that wouldn't be getting so much stress and weight. One of the other things that they included here was a yearly planner, and I thought this was super nice. I guess it was done by the paper company, which is Bella Paper, which maybe is a branch of 316. But I'll show you the front here. And it's just like a very nice kind of smooth blue paper, and it's super thick, super heavy duty, very nice construction. I mean, like super thick. You can see like how thick the cardstock is there. It's super thick. And I'll kind of flip through a little bit of it. It's just kind of a planner, and it's got some like extra little sections and things to kind of help you out. We'll kind of go to the back here. You can see that nice blue stitching. It's kind of cool. It's kind of what you would expect, from the planner, the calendar, etc. But it has, your little flyout here of all the months, and then you have a little notes section. And then you have like some little tabs, which I think is super cool. Notes and other little, just kind of other miscellaneous things. Super neat. A little pocket there, which I think is cool. So yeah, just like another little piece of, I guess, swag, for you guys to feast your eyes on, as maybe a thank you for pre-ordering, or I don't know if they include this with every order, but it was in my order, so I just wanted to show it off to you guys. Now I'll go ahead and set this stuff aside, and we'll take a look at the box. And we can see here that it came in a very nice, heavy duty box. This box is like super, super diesel. I certainly wish that every box was like this, kind of thick and heavy duty. Would be great. But you can see the nice little kind of Florentine fillet kind of pattern there. I don't know what they call it for their kind of, I don't know what they call it, what they reference it specifically as, but I've seen it referred to as a Florentine fillet back in the day. So I'm going to call it that. You also have the LSB logo, and then kind of all the information there, and the Steadfast Bible's logo on the bottom. And then on the inside, it's just black, and it's, really like a really thick, heavy-duty cardboard box. Inside, it comes wrapped in this kind of double black construction paper, or craft paper, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a little kind of a embossed, there we go, a little kind of embossed logo thing there, a little seal. And you can just slide the paper off, so you don't have to tear the seal if you don't want to. You can, if you want, it's your Bible, go for it. And then just the bottom of the box, let me close it back up, and I will show you guys the back of it. And on the back, all there is just 316, Southern California. So that is the box. So a very nice box indeed. And again, I do wish every Bible came with a box that was that heavy duty. It would certainly make things easier for storage. So here we have our Bible. And this is obviously the black goatskin edition. It is a very well done edition. It is not produced in young blood like we have gotten so accustomed to with premium edition Bibles. This one was produced in Korea. And the formatting, the layout of the Bible was done by 2K Denmark. So you will see like an updated font set. And the layout is very nice overall. The big miss for me is going to be on the outside, and we will see it here in a second. It will certainly catch your eye, and we'll take a look, and I'll get into the tea, like I said, as the kids put it. But we'll go ahead and start with the leather cover, and it is very nice. I mean, it does have a very unique grain, and I'm certainly a super fan of unique grains. I think it's always so lovely when you have kind of weird stuff like this going through it. I like it. Now, as far as the perimeter goes, we have just a little perimeter stitch line. There is no kind of impressed lines or anything like that around the edge. No, perimeter lines or anything. On the spine, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 raised hubs, and they are very nicely raised. Well done on that. Well done on the centering, all that sort of stuff. We have Holy Bible, and then LSB, the LSB logo, Legacy Standard Bible, and then Steadfast Bibles at the bottom, kind of imprinted there. And it just feels like it's pad printed. It doesn't really feel sunken in. But that's not really so much a huge deal because you have the spines there to help protect it from rubbing off, at least if you're laying it flat on a table, which I would imagine you would be doing because this is a very chunky, you guys can see how fat this edition is. It's a very chunky edition. I would imagine many people are going to be reading it from their hands. So on the back, we have more of that grain, and you can see some really neat, hopefully the camera's picking up, you can see some kind of really neat patterns here. Again, I love that, those kind of skin folds and, creases, and if, the animal gets stuck in barbed wire, I love seeing that kind of stuff. I think it gives it character, and I'm a super fan of it. So I will go ahead and turn on its edge now, and you will see the issues as we get into it. But we'll go ahead and take a look at the ribbons, and we have the head and tail bands also are in black. The ribbons, we have one kind of like a creamy gold color. There's a red and a black, and you can see that beautiful edge gilt there. And we'll get to the issue here in a second. I'll point it out directly if you guys haven't spotted already. But a very nice gilt. And then you'll notice that the ribbons have a little bit of length on them, which is nice because you'll be able to pull them to the corner and actually use them as is appropriate. So I prefer long ribbons, so this is awesome for me. I love this. And they are double-sided satin ribbons, and they're like middle of the road quality. They're not super awesome. They're not Beresford's, but they're not like total junk like what Crossway uses. So a nice kind of middle of the road ribbon, I guess, what you would expect maybe from Korea. Again, this wasn't done by Royal Youngblood, so there's that. All right, now as far as the issue is concerned, it's pretty obvious. At least to me, it was obvious when I first pulled it out. The very first thing you can see right there, hopefully, well, if I'm not shining the glare right in your eyes, but you can see here this really humongous stripe in the gilt, all right? And then a smaller stripe right here in the gilt. And then as we turn it, we have a, maybe, I don't know if you can see it. Right there's like a hairline scratch in the gilt, which isn't the biggest of issues. Down here you can see that kind of weird anomaly. I'm guessing what this is caused from is maybe 2 layers of gold foil that are kind of overlapping, because it is like a very symmetrical kind of hazy line there. So there's that, and then on the bottom there's like a scratch, a scuff kind of on the edge there. I don't know how well you guys can see that. And then on the bottom we have, again, I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but we have like 2 little kind of like pot marks or something. I don't even know, like two more little nicks. All right. So the issue with this one obviously is the gilt. And had it been for like the hairline scratch here and the 2 little marks on the bottom, and then this kind of hazy section, I would not care. However, this section is pretty atrocious, and I don't know how well it's picking up, but it's very obvious to me. So we have one section here, and then like two sections kind of right next to each other. Now, what happened when I received this Bible? It actually had dents in the pages, and it appears to be just about as thick, weirdly, just about as thick each one of these little sections as the edge of the box. So I'm guessing maybe during packaging or something like that, or maybe with something else during production, something hit these pages in 3 separate places. It kind of smashed into the page edges. Now, it wasn't super bad. It's not like the pages were like totally like crunched in, but it was definitely enough to where the gilt was messed up, and it was definitely enough to where I had to go in with a Teflon paper folder and or they call it like a bone folder, and basically smooth out the creases to get the pages straightened up because they were like noticeably kind of dented down in. And I will post a picture somewhere around now of what it originally looked like, just so you guys can see, because it didn't quite look like this. It looked a little bit different, but it was very obvious from like the second I pulled it out that something had kind of smashed the page edges. Now, so my issue here is the thing that kind of trumps, your presentation, your production quality, and your swag, your free swag that you get is always going to be customer service. If you have poor customer service, if you don't treat your customers right, they're not going to come back to you. And I want to try and present this as neutrally as possible. I don't want to like misrepresent anything, or you know what I mean. I don't want to be ugly about it. But to me, customer care is certainly the most important thing. So again, had it just been the couple minor things, I would not have cared. I would have kept this Bible and ran with it. But this, kind of these large kind of smash marks that you guys saw, and the fact that the paper was actually like smashed in, dented in, that was kind of an issue for me, and that was certainly a miss. And for this price tag, again, I got it on pre-order, so I think it was like $20 cheaper. But still, I think now it's like close to $220. So like this is a $220 Bible that was not produced by Royal Youngblood. It was produced in Korea. And that's not to knock Korea, but obviously the production costs are going to be less in Korea. So you have a decreased production cost, but you're still charging kind of the same price as what the ultra premiums go for. So whenever I see that, I don't have a problem with that, but there's certainly an expectation of customer care and quality assurance that's expected. So if you have an issue where, I don't know, I had to straighten them out. It was probably about 120 pages altogether, if not maybe a little bit more, but we'll say around 120 pages. If you have an issue where, a customer has 120 pages that have been smashed, you replace that for the customer, especially when it's a $220 price tag, a $220 price tag. And that was not the case, sadly, for me. So the first thing I did when I got that was, I took photos of it and I emailed customer service over at 316, and they responded and basically said that, hey, all of the issues, and I took pictures of everything and sent it all to them, right? Not just the one thing, but I sent pictures of everything because I try and make like a strong case for everything. And I basically said, hey, these are the issues that I'm having. I need to like send this back to you guys, assuming it's covered by warranty. So they looked at it, they looked at the photos, and they basically said, yeah, all of this is considered within manufacturer's tolerances. So essentially they weren't going to do anything for me because this is what is allowed by the, the tolerances of the manufacturer as far as like damages are concerned to each Bible, I suppose. Which is kind of sad because, again, I wouldn't have minded the small scratches, and that's probably what they were thinking, but, I had dented pages. So I responded to that email, and I said, well, hey, it's more than just a couple scratches. I have, probably 100 or so pages that have been dented. So they requested additional photos to kind of show the dents in the pages. So I took some photos as best I could, and, you can kind of see them, and I kind of circled them and highlighted them for them. So like, it's pretty obvious what it was, the issues that was caused. And I even said, it doesn't look like it was thrown across the room or anything. It looks like it was probably just kind of, bumped with something, and it was just enough to kind of dent the pages and mess up the art gilt. So initially what they offered me, and this is kind of laughable, initially they offered me a $15 refund. They said, hey, we can refund you $15, or, if you want, you can send it back and get a full refund. So those were my options. And so I responded with a couple questions, because obviously you want to make sure you have clarity on everything. My biggest concern was that, a $15 refund on a Bible that's essentially damaged was kind of laughable to me, because that's, for 220, I think it came out to like 7% of the cost of the Bible. Now that it's funny to me only because Steadfast Bibles, after a while, they will put their scratch and dents on sale as grade Bs. Now, if you guys have kind of shopped around with them for a while, you might have seen those. And if I remember correctly, I think it's like a 20 or 30% discount they put on their grade B Bibles, obviously because they're scratch and dent. You're not gonna charge full price for those Bibles. So I thought it was hilarious because, at the very least, they should have just said, hey, we'll just give you like grade B pricing on it, and knock off 20% or whatever the case is. And so I was kind of taken aback by the fact that they didn't want to do that at least. which maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a little selfish of me, but whatever. It's my story to tell. So yeah. So my other option was to send it back to them, and I figured, okay, well, worst case scenario, I can send it back to them and they'll send me another Bible. So I clarified some things, and they did say that they would pay for return shipping back to them. They would refund my credit card. Now, obviously, the first thing I would do is just order another edition, right? Or hopefully they would send me back an edition. Now, they said that they were not going to send me back an edition because it's technically not covered by the manufacturers, because it's within their tolerances, which I thought was weird because, like, I'm sending you a Bible that's defective. Obviously, I'm going to want a corrected Bible, so why wouldn't you just automatically send me one? Well, they weren't going to do that. Now, the bigger issue with that is that because they wouldn't automatically send me one and I have to go through the whole process of ordering it again, which, again, I don't understand why they wouldn't just automatically send one if that's what I'm requesting. Again, good customer service. The issue with that is that I paid the pre-order sale price. So I paid $20 less. So now they would pay for return shipping back to them, but I would have to pay an additional $20 over the cost of what I originally did. So that was my issue. So the issue is essentially I can get a $20 refund, or I can spend $20 more and risk getting another Bible that might be damaged within manufacturer's tolerances. So I wasn't happy with that outcome. I certainly feel like, and I say $20 because what happened was, after a little bit of back and forth in the emails, originally it was offered me a $15 discount or a $15 rebate or refund, and they upped it to $20 at the end after all was said and done. But I'm certainly not happy with that, again, because the cost of the Bible, it's expensive, and at the very least I'm willing to ship it back to you. Assuming you just send me another one that doesn't have any issues, that would be grand. But that was not the case. I would have to pay for the difference in the pre-order price, and then obviously pay for shipping again and taxes again. I don't remember if there were taxes, but I have to pay for all that stuff again. And I didn't want to do that. Plus, I had already, I've already been out. It's been like 3 weeks that I've been going back and forth with them, so I don't want to be out any more time. And I was just kind of frustrated and fed up, which typically tends to happen with customer service issues, especially when the customer service isn't like super awesome. So that was my ordeal with 316 Publishing, and I just wasn't super happy with that. It kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Am I going to buy any more editions from them? I don't really know. I tend to just kind of buy, like, I don't know. I don't really know. I guess it depends what they come out with. And I mean, I'm not the type of person to like hold a grudge, so I'm not going to be like, I'll never order from them again. But certainly there's going to be some hesitation there, only because really what would have happened if I would have spent $20 extra to order a new one and gotten another Bible in, and it would have been all scratched up again. But again, it's in manufacturer's tolerances. So I wasted all that time, all that money, and I still got a defective Bible. So that's always going to be my hesitation, is that they're not going to have that customer service there to kind of have my back or stand behind their product at least, which is sad because it shouldn't be that way. And certainly over the years, I haven't had very many customer service issues. I've had maybe a handful of them, and considering how many Bibles I have, it's rare essentially that I have to deal with a company's customer service. But sadly, I hate to say that 316 is probably the worst one that I've had to deal with. Sorry for a little bit of extra there. But yeah, certainly 316 is not the best one that I've had to deal with, which is disheartening. Now, another thing to note is I'm filming this on the, I think the 16th of February, the Thursday before it's going to release. This video is going to release. But they came out on the 14th with an email that they released to everybody, and it basically said, hey guys, I know that the inside column references are awesome and we shipped out a whole bunch of them, but we're having an issue with the binding. Apparently, whenever they were assembling the binding on this Bible, they did not put enough glue on it. So some people's Bibles are starting to fall apart already here a month after the initial shipping. So, they gave a couple options of how to resolve that. And funny enough, one of the options is, hey, you can send us your Bible and we'll send you a new one. So I don't understand why they're okay with, sending Bibles back for that, but not for this. I don't know. C'est la vie, I guess. You can see there essentially that there's kind of a continued theme with these inside column references. That they're having an issue because not enough glue is getting put on, so your Bibles are falling apart. Plus, there's, manufacturer's tolerances of gilt scratches and damaged pages. So obviously, there's an issue there with some kind of quality control. And at the end of the day, that would be, the next step, or I guess the step prior to good customer service, is just having good quality control, good QC. Now, I know obviously glue, you can't really tell there's not enough glue put on until the binding comes apart. And I think as far as the glue is concerned, I think that they are handling that appropriately. They also said that, if you had like notes already in your Bible, you could ship it to them, they would repair it and then send it back to you. And I think that that's appropriate. But the way that, my particular case was handled, not super satisfactory, at least to me, sadly. So, yeah, just be aware that, customer service is shaky best, sadly. So let's continue this review. So we did all that. We spilled the tea, or whatever the kids say. I don't even know what the kids say. I'm getting up there in years, goodness. All right, let's take a look at the inside. We do have fairly nice and very tight corner work. You can see there. The corners are very nice, and look at those pleats. They're like super tight. And then we have the Florentine fillet, or whatever they call it, kind of continued on the inside, and it looks grand. It looks super great. And there is a leather liner here, and it's nice and kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to say velvety, but it definitely has a different texture from the other side. It's a nice smooth texture. It is edge lined here. You can see the tab going right up there onto the book block. And we do have a vinyl liner on the end sheet. On the back, we have the same. There's no imprinting, no additional imprinting. We do have those nice tight corners yet again. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now that we're like, let's see, what is that, like 20 minutes into the video? Was that 20? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to look at my timer. It looks like 20 minutes. Yeesh, it's a long time. Yeah, 20 minutes. Apologies, guys. I can get to rattling. All right, so we have your end sheet there with another end sheet, nice and stiff. I've done my break them than I normally do, but I haven't really used this super much because it's just been sitting in the box. Because I was wondering what I was going to do, if I was going to ship it back or take the $20 refund. I ended up taking the $20 refund, if that wasn't clear. But you have 1, 2, 3, and kind of 3.5 really thick end sheets here. Super thick, great for notes, or if you're going to rebind it, it'll hold up to it. Then you have a blank sheet. Now this paper is a 40 GSM, so it is very thick. It should be easier to turn, I'm hoping. Then you have your title page here. And on the back you have all your specifications. Let me show that to you. Oddly, there was only one title page. Normally there's 2. They're your ISBN numbers, all rights reserved. And again, printed in Korea, and this one was printed in December 2022. And we do see here that there was typesetting in 2K Denmark, and just some of the other cursory information there. We do have a forward to the LSB. Definitely recommend that. Definitely recommend reading that if you guys have not. Then we have an explanation of the general format, abbreviations, and then your table of contents. And your Old Testament title page. And Genesis. So I'll go ahead and pull it in tight here so you guys can see it. You can see that the book name is in red, as well as the chapter number, and that's all they put in red. I kind of wish the verse numbers were in red. That would have been nice, but beggars can't be choosers. And this is a single column verse by verse, and the way they indicate the paragraphs are with bold numbers. So you can see that the 9 and the 14 are bold, and that's how they indicate that it's the beginning of a new paragraph. So let's turn the page. And so the reason this is called the ICR, the inside column reference, obviously is because the references are on the inside. Now this is a benefit and a feature that I really love, and this is again why I was so excited about this edition, because the references are here, and typically I don't use the references very often, so it's kind of nice because it moves the biblical text outwards, right? Normally you have the references on the outside and it moves the biblical text inwards into the gutter. This way the biblical text, I'll let go, the biblical text kind of sits here on the flat portion of the page, and it just makes it easier to read, especially if you have glasses or that sort of thing. You're not having to pull the text block to get it to sit. And obviously you'll have to do that with the references, but like I said, I don't use them very often. So you have your references there. You do have your book and chapter numbers up in the top corners, and then you have your page numbers in the top gutter. And I think I said everything else. The only other thing is kind of the segmentation here between these. You have your all of your what are these cross references at the top, and then your footnotes at the bottom. And your footnotes are separated by a kind of little dividing line there, indicating that that's for the kind of the separation between the chapters. So this top section here is the chapter 1 cross references. This section down here is chapter 2's cross references, and then kind of the same here, chapter 1's footnotes and chapter 2's footnotes. So we'll kind of chunk through it a little bit so you guys can see. But man, the layout is very nice. There are kind of the headers there for the subjects throughout the text. And it's very well done. A double line drop cap for the chapter numbers, again in red. And I think I misspoke saying that it was only the book name and the chapter numbers, but it's the book name, the chapter numbers, the page number, and then up in the top corner here, the book and chapter numbers. But like I said, it would have been nice if it was, red accents here on the numbers, or just a little more red. You're paying for the red plates, you may as well add a little extra. So let's go to the poetic section. They did do poetic formatting, which is very nice. It's kind of hard to tell in some areas like this, right, where it's just a list, but let's get to Psalms. So you can see there in Psalms, let me try and find a Psalm that has some kind of longer lines. Well, you can see a few down here. So you notice down here, on the lines that are a little, that would be longer than what they have the space available for, they do kind of indent here in the second line so that it's associated with the line above it, which is nice. And you can see there that 40 GSM paper is fairly nice. There is a little bit of ghosting. It is here in the Psalms, so it's to be expected. But certainly I would have expected for a 40 GSM paper to be a little bit better than this. And again, I'm not sure what sort of paper they used. I don't think that it was, maybe they specified on their website. I'm not sure. I'll annotate it if I think about it. But obviously you guys can go to the website and check it out and see what paper they used. I'm not sure if it was like a premium paper or anything like that. It feels like a nice enough paper. It's smooth without being like that weird Cambridge smooth. It is nice and thick, again, 40 GSM, and it does have a little bit of a cream color to it, which is very nice. You can also see the red on gold art gilt. It's very well done. And it's a good medium shade. It's not super light and it's not super dark. It's about right in the middle, about kind of par for the course, that sort of thing. Let's turn a little bit more. Now, I am wondering, it does appear to be line matched, which is good. That'll help kind of cut down on some of the kind of show through. We'll take a look here. You can see a little bit of the show through here, but the line matching definitely helps. You know, kind of that show through kind of disappears in this area. So it's not too terrible. Not terrible at all. And certainly it does provide you space here for notes if you were to add some. But I might not use this for like a note heavy edition. All right, so let's take a look here at the end of the Old Testament and the New Testament title page. We have the Gospel according to Matthew. We'll flip a few pages over and we can see that it is a black letter text, which I don't mind. And just a very nice layout overall. Again, I mean, I was really excited when I saw this layout. I've always been a fan of inside column references, and you don't see them very often. And there's definitely a very good benefit to having it. So I don't know. I was excited. Plus, I was excited about the LSB translation to begin with. I'm a big fan of the NASB. I think I've said that enough on this channel to not have to repeat it ever again. But like right now, I'm reading I'm doing a read through of the 2020, and normally I use the 95, and I've enjoyed the 2020 so far. So I'm hoping at some point I will get to read through this one, the LSB, God willing. And I'll be super stoked to use this one. And I'll be even more excited because it's already broken in with a bunch of damage to the gilt. So I won't have to be scared about scratching with a fingernail. Woo. Pardon my enthusiasm there, right? All right, so here we have the end of Revelation, Revelation 22. I noticed it's always so weird to me, like when some editions put like the end. Yeah, I don't know why. Like I don't see it very often anymore, but like in some of the older editions I have, they'll put like the end at the end of the biblical text, which I think is kind of funny. It almost reminds me of like a movie with like the end card coming down. But then we have our table of monetary units. And then we have our weights and measures and our concordance. Let me show you the concordance. You can get a feel for the entries there. And the text is a little small in the concordance, but it's not as bad as say like a Schuyler. It's definitely legible. So maybe if you have a problem with smaller text, you might have an issue, but it's certainly bigger than what you would normally find in a concordance. So let's flip through the end of the concordance there. Quite a sizable one. There we go. That's all concordance, so basically all the rest of it. Then you have your maps. So the maps are nicely done. They're printed on that nice thick cardstock like that was up front, and it's not like a gloss. It's not a gloss, it's not a matte, it's not a semi-gloss. It's like something in between a semi-gloss and a matte. It's kind of a smoother texture than you would get on a matte paper. But nicely done. I mean, kind of clean maps and not so much as far as like the kind of the three-dimensional terrain stuff. But sometimes that helps because it just, keeps it nice and clean. So, and then at the end we have 1, 2, 3, 4, like 3.5 again, kind of very thick sheets of paper. And these are matte finished paper, so these will be very easy to take notes on if you were so inclined. And then just our end sheet there. So let's get some measurements for you guys. Again, this is a very, very, very chunky Bible. It's a heavy-duty desk Bible. I would be impressed for anybody that would carry this around with them. Let's go to the imperial units, and we'll see here that it is like 10 3/8 of an inch tall by like 7 1/4 wide. Now the big boy measurement, goodness, I can barely hold it. By like right at 2 inches, just shy of 2 inches thick. So it's it's probably about the equivalent of like a larger study Bible. It's a beefy boy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the font size. Yoink. I'll start with the uppercase. I'll do the B and Behold. Now they claim it as an 11-point font, but obviously I always compare it to a Times New Roman because not everybody knows what font they're using or has access to that font to be able to tell. But it does look to be about an 11-point font, at least in comparison to Times New Roman for the uppercase. And for the lowercase, we'll use the H and him. And it looks to be a little bit bigger for the lowercase. And that's kind of the benefit for these newer fonts. It looks to be about an 11.5-point lowercase. Yeah, about an 11.5-point lowercase. And that's the way that these newer fonts work, right? Your your uppercase letter is this big, and instead of having the lowercase letter being half the size of the uppercase letter, they make the lowercase letter a little bit bigger. Not quite as big as the uppercase, but a little bit bigger. And that helps. Again, in this instance, instead of it being just an 11 point all around, it's kind of equivalent to an 11.5 point lowercase letter. And obviously, I always go by the lowercase letters because there's more of them. So it's about an 11.5 point font versus Times New Roman, which is super awesome and super spectacular. Let me see if I can find something to compare it to. Give me 1 second. So I kind of went a little bit crazy on the comparison here, my choice to compare it to, and I grabbed an O2 SCR by Lockman, which is affectionately known as the Judge. However, the one that I have is a genuine leather edition. It's not the ABBA calfskin, so it's not quite a Judge. It's the Attorney that I lovingly call it. But it is a 2002 Lockman side column reference. We'll go ahead and take a look here at a comparison between the two layouts. So the main thing to notice is the inside column reference versus kind of the traditional outside column reference or side column reference. This one obviously has a wide, kind of a wider gutter here for, a wide margin addition. But what that does is it makes this column of text a little bit narrower versus kind of the expanded column here. Let me see if I can get to a prose section. There you go. So, this is the main difference. You have the color of the paper too. The one on the right here is a little more bone colored. The one on the left is a little more cream colored. They both are single column verse by verse with bold paragraph indicators. The SCR here has kind of the cross references and the footnotes all kind of mingled up together. Plus they're just kind of evenly spaced here on the side. They're not really aligned to the verses or anything like that. And then on the opposing side, we have just the cross references up top and the footnotes on the bottom, kind of separated with a nice area here for your notes if you are so inclined to write them. You do still have the kind of the running headers, the little section headers here in the text and that sort of thing. But I feel like this is a more fair comparison. Now you can notice, and I do believe that this paper is right about the same thickness for both, but the opacity on the right is definitely much better. And that's because of this glorious paper that was used in the early 2000s for like a handful of editions that were done. This paper is no longer produced, so you're kind of out of luck. This would be maybe a second best, maybe close to like a 36 GSM Prima Bible paper or something like that. I don't know, but there's your comparison as far as side column reference, Judge/Attorney, and the ICR. So let's take a look at sizes, and then we will wrap this up. Now, as far as sizing goes, they're really, 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 really similar as far as thickness and even footprint. The primary difference there is going to be a little hard to see just because of the yap. I don't know if you guys can tell, but take my word for it, they're close enough. Maybe that way you can kind of see. They're close enough. And footprint also, they're very similar. The main difference just being the fact that this has a concave book block, the ICR from Steadfast. So it's a little bit of a curve there on the book block. That's pretty much it. So Bible Buddies, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. If you could like, comment, subscribe, and all that cool YouTube stuff, that would be much appreciated. If you have any questions or if you want to share your own manufacturer customer service drama, please feel free to do so. I don't want to stir the pot too much. I don't want to make it seem like I'm hating on these companies. Every company is going to have its ups and its downs. One of these days, I keep saying it, I had to share the Cambridge story. That one, so this one, I think I sent 5 emails. Just as a hint towards the Cambridge one, the Cambridge I had to send I think it was 15 to 20 emails or something like that back and forth. But that one definitely had a much better resolution. So I'm definitely much happier with Cambridge's customer service. The only note that I could say about Cambridge is just make sure you guys keep your receipts for Cambridge Bibles, because otherwise it's going to be kind of hard to get any sort of warranty replacement. So yeah, Bible Buddies, until next time, bye.